you guys.
It's at the bottom.
What do I do?
It's at the bottom to plug it in.
Oh. I'm so far I'm upside down.
Oh yeah, you are upside down.
Just getting set up here.
Do you want me to just
so
set
excited
for you?
about this. It's gonna be like a half hour live. Sorry, we're getting set up. And
What are you guys saying?
it says muted.
Oh wait, here.
Everyone's saying muted. Nick, help. Oh my God. We hear you now. Do you hear me now?
Sure.
We can hear you now. Okay, good. Thank God, because I do not know how that happened.
Oops, that's too slow. Just gonna pull.
Okay. Hold on, we're close. We're close. Fact. And I see a notebook.
Yeah, I
How
can go
about
back. Let's go.
It's working. Okay, I'm looking down a little bit, but we are live. Okay, so this is very exciting. I just taped next week's show, but I just watched the show that just premiered. And so now I'm answering questions about that. So I have the topics that I talked about. I talked about Justin Bieber. I talked about my hysterectomy recovery. I talked about a letter that was left back in a hotel that I read. And then I talked about when I was a high-class prostitute. Someone says it's still kind of muffled. Please talk about Vance and the Pope. Well, I didn't talk about that on the show, but J.D. Vance apparently killed the Pope. Now you guys are just talking about random stuff. You have to ask me questions about the episode. That's the whole deal. You watch the episode, and then you come on here and I answer your questions. The hotel letter is priceless. Well, thank you. It was such a treat because I go to so many hotels on tour. It was such a treat to find like notes next to the phone and then read it, and then it turned out to be, I'm pretty sure, a guy writing notes, practicing for like a breakup phone call he was going to have with his girlfriend or wife. And I mean, it was really intense. Let me fix my bang. I'm banging obsessed, and yes, I know how that sounds. All right, what's the question?
Someone asked how you're feeling after surgery.
Oh, that's so nice. Someone asked how I'm feeling after the surgery. I'm feeling great, but I am having some bleeding. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I don't want to go back to my doctor because she's out of my insurance, and it's $2,850 to just walk in and say hi to her. And I almost fell out when I got the bill like 2 weeks ago. So I might just bleed out, and that just could be the end of it. And I could go the same week as the Pope. Now, by the way, I'm not religious, but I am wearing a cross to be papal. I mean, I'm not saying I'm papal, but as an honor. All right, what's another question?
Somebody asked what you really think happened to Justin Bieber.
Okay, I don't know, obviously I don't know what really happened to Justin Bieber, but I am in recovery because I was a pill addict. I'm still an addict. You never say was, but I don't do them anymore. And I think my guess, I'm not a doctor or a dog. My guess is that he's on a combination of things. So we see him smoking blunts all the time, and that could be laced with something like cocaine. I don't get a big pill vibe from him. If so, he could be doing anything from like crushing Adderall and snorting it, taking too much. But you don't see him like jittery and hyper that much. What worries me the most about his appearance, I don't care that he goes to Coachella and dances around like a normal person. That's his right. I mean, that's probably very freeing for him. What worries me is like the thickness of his lips have subsided, like he's gaunt looking, and that scares me. I'm gonna say that scares me because it makes me think meth. And I don't know meth, I've never done meth, but that is one of the side effects, is that you start to get so underweight that your actual facial features can change. So that worries me about him, because he's only 31, and he's a brand new dad. And he's also on some kind of drug that's making him very mean to his wife. And I know she's the villain of the moment, but in any event, whatever happened with them, I don't know if a church put them together. I kind of think that's what maybe happened. But I also don't envy the fact that she's driving him around in a golf cart while he's clearly not wanting to spend time with her, or so it appears. All right, next question.
Kind of following up on that, people are wondering if you think he's going to stay with Haley and also Team Haley or Selena.
Oh, okay. So am I Team Haley or Team Selena? Well, I'm Team Selena because she has so much genuine talent, and I feel that Haley is someone who's famous for just being famous. You know, she's famous because she's pretty, and she's a Nepo baby, and she comes from the Baldwin acting empire, and she's had so much work done on her face that she looks like a different human being. And that's her right, and it's her prerogative, but it's odd to see someone that young, and I know I have a bunch of wrinkles, and who am I to say, but it's odd to see someone actually change the shape of their jaw. You know, like the whole shape of her head is different now. But I think I'm Team Selena because Selena seems like such a hard worker, although being a new mom cannot be easy, especially when you're also at Coachella every time. But I'm not anti-Haley. I actually think they're not going to last because it seems like she's the one who wants it to work so much more. Thank you, Vanessa, for $10. All right, next question.
Someone said, have you ever considered a daytime talk show?
Have I ever considered a daytime talk show? I have pitched all versions of daytime talk shows, from daytime talk shows that have game elements. By the way, there are 5 dogs in the house right now, and I am in heaven. But you're gonna hear like random dog sounds around me, and some of them are like mini growls, and some of them are happy sounds. I'm just loving it. So, daytime world is called syndication, and it's very competitive, and it's very expensive, and it's very difficult. And the reason I don't have a daytime talk show is, even though I think it's a silly reason, I'm actually way too controversial. And I say it's a silly reason because I never started out to be controversial. And if you guys know me, the majority of my act is making fun of celebrities and A-listers, and I make fun of myself first and foremost. But I have gotten in trouble many times over the years from various celebrities. One of them is a celebrity named Donald Trump, and he is in fact a celebrity because he is hardly a president, and I will not be shy about my political feelings.
Have you ever met Mariah Carey?
I have met Mariah Carey. I met her on a red carpet for a Grammy event because I actually have a Grammy. I have a Grammy for Best Comedy Album. And I was nominated 6 years in a row, and then I finally won. And so, honestly, like, the best part of that is that you get to go to all the Grammy stuff. So, I was a little afraid of her because, you know, we've all heard that she's a diva, and I've made fun of her a lot in my specials over the years, like her very famous episode of Cribs, the show that used to be on MTV. And I assume she kind of is a little bit aware that I've lovingly and gently made fun of her. And so when I met her, I thought, okay, here we go. She might confront me. I've been confronted by many, many celebrities most famously Whitney Houston, who literally put her finger in my face and screamed at me and scared the shit out of me. And I believe she was considering killing me. I believe so. But with that voice, who cares? It would have been a great way to go. And Mariah Carey was very sweet. She was quite shy, but I also think, like many celebrities, she didn't want to like say too much around me because it could end up in my act.
What about Madonna?
I have never met Madonna, you guys, and she's one of the few. Like, I've been around so long that I really kind of met everybody at this point, and I've never met Madonna. Now, my dear friend Rosie O'Donnell is, as you guys know, an old friend of Madonna's, and, you know, they were in a league of their own together and got very close during that movie, and they know each other really well. And one of the things I like about social media is you'll see an old clip of Madonna going on the Rosie daytime talk show, and you know, Rosie really, in my opinion, brings out Madonna's fun side, which we want to see, because we also hear that Madonna's this diva. Although, just let me pause on that for 1 second. Having met so many of these women, not Madonna, but so many of them, I'm on this mission to meet as many difficult women that I've heard about as I can. Like, whether they're singers or actors or comedic people or whatever, but there are so many women, especially women of a certain age, that have been labeled a nightmare or difficult. And I find, as I meet them one by one, they're almost all lovely. And then I start to think, well, wait, who told me they were a nightmare or difficult? Oh, a straight middle-aged white guy. That's right, the guys who still run the shit. And by the way, there's still only like 5 that run everything, and they're still around from when I started. These guys never die off. It's amazing. I'll have a meeting with somebody today that I met with 25 years ago when he was still running the whatever, big company or whatever. So I really question when someone is supposed to be a difficult nightmare, and then it turns out more often than not that they're really just a woman who's been through a lot of shit. And also, most of these women have had very difficult times when it came to romance, because they're the breadwinner, they're the powerful one, and gender politics still unfortunately come very much into play.
Would you do, or will there be a My Life on the D-List rewatch show?
Oh, I love this question. Would there be a My Life on the D-List rewatch show? Well, I tried to sell it and nobody wanted it. So one of my former assistants, John, who I just love and we're still friends, he wasn't on My Life on the D-List, but he was on my Kathy talk show, which ran for 2 seasons on Bravo, and you can see it now on Apple TV. He was in like some of the sketches every so often. So he and I did a pilot, and I have not watched My Life on the D-List since it aired all those years ago. And so I watched episode 1 again so we could make the pilot. And it was really fun to do, and it was actually shocking to watch it. Like, I forgot a lot of the stuff I did on that show, and I forgot how hard it was. Like, they worked my ass off on that show. I was in like 6 locations in one episode. Like, it was, but I'm proud of the show, and I love when people say that it was part of their growing up, or, you know, I have a lot of gay men that say they came out to their parents watching it together and stuff like that. So I'm proud of the show, and I would happily do a rewatch podcast if anybody wants to do it.
How did you meet Terry Hatcher?
How did I meet Terry Hatcher? I love that question. Okay, so Terry Hatcher starred in Lois and Clark. She was in the movie Soap Dish. Obviously, she was in Desperate Housewives. In fact, they built that whole show around her. So the way I met her was when I was on a sitcom in the late 90s called Suddenly Susan, and it was starred Brooke Shields, and I was like the wacky sidekick, right? And I shared a wardrobe person with Hatcher. So Her name is Judith Curtis. She passed away within the last year, and she was the best wardrobe person I've ever worked with, just amazing. So anybody from Warner Brothers, you knew Judith Curtis and how great she was. And so she would tell me that when Lois and Clark was filming, which co-starred Dean Cain, who's now a big dumb Trumper, that they realized that Dean couldn't act. And so Lois and Clark really became the Lois show because Terry could act. And they just put her through hell on that show. She was always like in a harness, flying off somewhere, being thrown, they were throwing mud at her. Like, you know, it was a Superman show. So she was always in peril. And I remember Judith telling me that Terry hated doing wardrobe fittings because, you know, it was the 90s. Not only did she have to be the kind of the co-hero on Lois and Clark and do all these stunts, and she's not a stunt woman, she's an actress, but she had to look glamorous the whole time while doing it. So she was constantly getting her hair and makeup fixed in between takes, and she was wearing suits where the skirts were tight, and her body had to be perfect, and she was running around in stilettos. And so I would just hear these stories about how for her wardrobe fittings, they would put out like strawberries, maybe have some champagne. And it just, so when I finally saw her somewhere on the lot, I just said that to her. And I didn't see her a lot, but we hit it off. And then, gosh, about a year and a half ago, we did a pilot together called Who Is My Chef? And I really thought the show would go because it was a show that had 3 chefs, except what you didn't know was the 2 of them were fake chefs and one of them was a real chef, and they all made weird dishes, just like on all the chef shows. Like half those dishes are so weird, you can't even imagine them. And they had judges. And the judges were myself, Hatcher, Ron Fungus, who's one of my favorite people and comics, and Chef Aaron Sanchez, who I also fell in love with that day. And Jesse Tyler Ferguson hosted it. So Hatcher and I laughed our way through that whole taping. We had so much fun. And we also had to run on the show, like for real. Like I had to wear sneakers because we had to run and like either hit a buzzer or something where the judges all had to run. And then we really became friends after that. And in fact, she, I think I talked about this, she stayed overnight. Or no, she didn't stay overnight. She came over one night last week and we watched The Towering Inferno together from the 70s, which is so horrible that I highly suggest you watch it. There's the trifecta of 70s disaster movies that don't hold up at all in a way that's glorious. The Poseidon Adventure, The Towering Inferno, and Earthquake. And I just watched Earthquake on Saturday night, and it stunk. It was horrible in all the best ways.
Seeing questions about if you would ever do SNL.
Questions about if I would ever do SNL. I don't think Lorne Michaels is a fan of mine. I know him. I used to see him at dinners all the time. I had a friend named Sue Mengers, and I was very honored to become friends with her because she was the first female power agent in the business at all. Like back in the day, she represented the biggest stars. Ryan O'Neal, Steve McQueen, Jack Nicholson. And after I won my first Emmy, and I got in a lot of trouble because I thought it would be funny to spoof an acceptance speech. And I thought it was funny that when people win awards, they get up there and they thank Jesus. And, you know, as if Jesus doesn't have better things to do with their time. And so I got up there and I said, a lot of people get up here and thank Jesus for this award. You know what? Jesus had nothing to do with this award. So I say, suck it, Jesus. This award is my God now. And I hold up my Emmy. Okay, so I got in a lot of trouble after that. The Academy called and they wanted me to apologize. And you know me, of course I wouldn't. And then they wanted me to give it back. And I was like, no way, this is way too hard to win. And, you know, I'm not going to just hand it to the deadliest catch. They can win next year. And I think they did, by the way. And so I got into trouble for that. And that is, now that I'm thinking about it, probably one of the reasons I don't have a daytime talk show. So when I say I've been getting in trouble for years, that's just merely one example. But when I do SNL, I mean, they've never asked. So I don't really have thoughts about it. I don't really think about it because like I said, I don't think Lauren's a fan, and I don't think it's gonna be an option. So I kind of don't think about it.
Do you have any Liza Minnelli stories?
Oh yes, I have Liza Minnelli stories, so many. Every minute I've spent with her is a Liza Minnelli story. I just worship her. She is so incredibly talented, and she has been through so much, and she's given me such good advice. Now, granted, I haven't seen her for years, and I know her health is not very good right now, and we all know that. She does post on social media, or someone posts for her sometimes, and she will sing. She's got that muscle memory where she will just burst into song, so you can check her out online. But I remember one piece of advice she told me because I asked her about one special that she did that was really famous called Liza with a Z. And this was a time when specials weren't just stand-up comedy specials, but they'd be called variety specials. And Liza did several, and Barbra Streisand did several. One of them was called Color Me Barbara. And so Liza with a Z was a really big deal. Remember, there were only 3 networks at the time, and Bob Fosse directed it. And he was her lover at the time as well. And so she's got this show where here she is, Academy Award winner, singing her heart out, dancing her heart out, not just dancing, but dancing to Fosse's choreography. And yet she told me that when she pitched the special to either all 3 networks, or maybe she just pitched it once and they bought it, I don't know. But she said, you always have to convince those men in those rooms that it was their idea. And I go, okay, I agree, but how do you convince a room full of middle-aged straight guys that a special called Liza with a Z, which is singing and dancing, starring gay icon Liza Minnelli, that it was their idea? And she goes, I just did. And I believe her, she must have done it. And she's another one that people write her off as too kooky or too this or that. You know, she's crazy like a fox. So, 2 Academy Awards, performances of a lifetime. She knows I tease her. I've teased her mercilessly in my specials, and she takes it on the chin. And I just love her, and I think the world of her.
Best advice you got from Joan.
What?
Best advice you got from Joan.
Oh, the best advice I got from Joan Rivers. Oh my gosh, you guys, I could do 10 hours on this. But I know I keep talking about executives, and I'm kind of trashing them all. And I don't mean to be. I'm just being honest. When you're a 64-year-old female comedian, it's not like they're lining up to do shows with you. There's just a lot of misogyny and a lot of ageism. And that's reflected in what you watch on your phone or on your laptop or on your television. There's just not many of us on screen. And so Joan Rivers said, remember, when it comes to these executives, they're removable heads. And they all say the same thing, and they're all afraid to make a mistake, and they're all afraid of their bosses. So you might as well just take the head off one and put it on somebody else, and then later on take that guy's head and put it on somebody else, because they're all gonna have the same story. So be true to yourself, pitch, and give them the very best performance and product that you possibly can. But remember, if it's a no, it can be a yes tomorrow, because they're just going to start moving the heads around again. Little did she know that after she passed away, her good friend Kathy Griffin would take a photo of an actual removable head that would, you know, not sit so well with some of these executives. Mostly the commander-in-chief. Sorry, I still laugh when I say commander-in-chief when we're talking about him. Oh gosh. You guys, all right, so has it been a half hour? Yes, okay. I was asking yesterday, I think I did one of these yesterday or the day before, and people were saying 30 minutes is a nice amount of time for a live. So, I want to thank you so much for watching this. I appreciate you guys more than I can say. Thank you for watching Kathy Griffin Laugh Your Head Off. A new episode premieres every Monday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Please subscribe to my Patreon. And today I'm also starting a Substack, and they all have different content. Okay, I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, thank you, thank you.